basic capabilities of doing point-to-point security. It is known and standardized, but here we want more. We want end-to-end security, not just from the asset tracker to the local smart reader, but also going up to the cloud. And that's why having a secure element makes all the difference. If you have a secure element attached to a PKI, public key infrastructure, then you can secure your connection not only from the object to the gateway, but also from the object to the PKI and to the web itself. That's essential for the market we want to serve. We want to make information transport of a sensor, of a movement, of temperature up to the cloud, and that's why a secure engine plus a PKI makes a difference. So as you can see on top right, the device is not a dream, it's existing. It has been demonstrated at Embedded World in February, and we are doing further improvement to it and making it either smaller, tinier, and having longer battery lifetime. Next slide. The next slide is going to show that this type of requirement of security is tackling a lot of industrial application. Food chain, cold chain monitoring, manufacturing, manufacturing in automotive, in any sort of industrial environment require security end-to-end. Medical, of course, not only for the devices which are located in the hospital, for monitoring the assets themselves, but also because medical is carrying a lot of personal information. So individual objects, ID, digital identification, specific medical personal information have to be protected from hacking and from pirates who could capture the information and make bad use of it. So again, end-to-end solution make a lot of sense. The little beacon that was shown in previous page is integrated into this little plastic package that is proposed by Tatwa. Finally, enterprise, mostly enterprise environment require some security end-to-end for people identification and strategic information protection, since most of the buildings and enterprise and companies are doing security, are monitoring critical data for their business. Altogether, those different applications have common requirements: uninterrupted service time, end-to-end security, digital identification, remote maintenance, allowing maintenance of the device in a secured way, and also product robustness. This is why enclosing them into a robust packaging makes sense, and why the partnership with Tatwa is important. Next slide. If we go down the level of applications, we can see from top to left, top to bottom, more recent application like social distancing, monitoring disposable medical, taking care of elderly people at home without violation of privacy. In the domain of people flow management, ticketing access, security is of course mandatory. We have seen various use of how to use people images in some countries that are somehow frightening if they are not secured. In the domain of construction, manufacturing, asset monitoring in manufacturing is also essential. And finally, in supply chain, cold chain monitoring, warehouse management, where you have all these assets which are circulating inside warehouse, they require some end-to-end protection with a robust connectivity technology. And all of these shown here take benefit of a combination of Bluetooth and secure element with PKI. Next slide. It is obvious that just bringing a Bluetooth technology or just bringing a secure element makes no sense. Adding a good packaging, a good quality packaging, a good tag, plus a system integration capability inside the ecosystem of the end customer, plus adding connectivity to the cloud makes this complete story viable. We have put a lot of effort in bringing a value proposition that is differentiating from just bringing either Bluetooth or secure element, but a complete asset management system that allow the end customer to have a decent, secured, cost-effective, and long-lasting complete solution. That's for my part of introduction. I will get back the control to Carlos, and we are open for any questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Let now the floor to Egon Konopnicki from Tatua. I hope that he solved the problem, the technical issues that he had to join. Egon, are you there? It looks that Egon is still struggling with his platform. So I propose that we will see if we can get back to Egon afterwards. And now I will let the floor to the next, who's Pedro Fuentes. Pedro, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. I'm Pedro Fuentes, and I'm in charge in WISeKey of the e-security trust services business unit. In particular, I take care of our digital identity solutions and the platform from which we deliver services. These services are the traditional services that were meant to provide identities to people and applications, like, for example, SSL certificates, are now extended, and I will say that probably is our main focus, into delivering identities to objects. I will introduce our secure IoT offering. It's not the main topic of this presentation, so I will just do an introduction, and I think that probably this will deserve a dedicated webinar where we describe all the different services and components in detail. When we talk about security, in particular about information security, I always like to say that there are two ways to understand the security. From one angle, we can understand the security as a way to protect the business by means of preventing attacks and defending about when these attacks happen. And on the other side, a more positive aspect, and sometimes is not given the necessary importance, is not only about protecting the business, but also about enabling the business. So when we implement security mechanisms.
Am I listening now?
Yes. Sorry, come back to you afterwards, Egon.
Yes, please mute your mic. Yes, so so good news. We have the missing panelist back to the team. So yeah, as I said, when we deploy security mechanisms, it's not only about protecting the business, but also about enabling the business. So we all know about, for example, antivirus or firewalls, which are protective mechanisms. But for example, if we implement other security mechanisms like digital signature, that will secure the electronic transactions, but will also enable new business processes by, for example, eliminating the need of paper in the transactions. So the same concepts we can also apply to the IoT security. So if we think first in this first approach to, I don't know if I'm changing the slide. Let's try again. Carlos, definitely this is not working, or yes, I don't know, but well, let's keep that slide. So when we think about this first approach of protecting the business, we need to understand that IoT is bringing new attack vectors. So when we were considering the traditional security risks in traditional applications, like business applications, but the risks that we can suffer are information theft. We can have corruptions of data. We can have denials of services and interruptions in the systems, in the computer systems. But when we apply these same concepts to the IoT and we see the new attack vectors and the risks, we see that these risks are passing to a physical plane. So it's not only about the theft of data, but physical theft. So for example, if an attack opens the door of the garage in my home, he can break into my home and he can get my belongings. The same case, if an attacker gets into my car, he can control the steering, he can control the brakes, and he can provoke an accident. So we are talking about human safety. The same if we talk about attacks in industrial chains, for example, that can affect to the productivity, but not only by stopping computers or applications, but really stopping robots and other industrial equipment. So we need to really consider that the IoT is bringing big opportunities, but new security risks that need to be attended appropriately. As I said at the beginning, this is the defensive approach to security, but we need also to consider that the investments in, next slide, Carlos, please. We need to consider that the investments in IoT security will also enable new businesses. How can we enable new businesses with IoT security? By adding the capability to action on the data of these devices, because adding different levels of trust in the data also imply that we can effectively process the data with different ways. So for example, if we see the untrusted data which comes from devices which are not identified, obviously we cannot take any action on this data. We cannot base any business process on this data because we cannot trust this data. If we go one step further and we identify the objects, we are starting to get enough assurance to start taking decisions based on the data that comes from these objects. But we can still go further and apply not only identity to the objects, but other techniques like, for example, digitally signing the data which is sent by the devices, which will ensure the data. We will know for sure that the data comes from that device and that has not been manipulated, and we can also apply confidentiality capabilities. So when we go to the third level of security is when we can really apply artificial intelligence. We can take decisions on the data that will enable new business processes and will make these business processes more effective. So again, the same concept of protecting and enabling is also applied to the IoT security. For example, if we think on IoT security, I'm talking about device identity as the foundation, because actually, as Carlos Moreira said at the beginning, the device identity is the most important cornerstone on applying additional levels of security. So next slide, Carlos, please. So the most these foundational characteristics of the IoT security, which is based on providing an identity to the object. At WISeKey, that has been working for more than 20 years into digital identity, we apply the same techniques, well-proven, scalable techniques of providing digital identities by using PKI technology. So we can provide to the objects digital certificates which represent the identity of the object, and this digital identity is linked to a chain of trust. So we can build this chain of trust until the root certification authority, which is actually providing an umbrella of trust across all the different subsystems. So if we trust the root of trust, we can trust all the identities of the objects. So everything is about making confidence on this root of trust. This approach is the traditional approach for the software root of trust, but we also have an additional approach, which is very important in IoT, which is the hardware root of trust. Next slide, Carlos, please. So we apply we can obtain a much higher level of security if we can also rely on a specific hardware to protect the device identity. This is the concept of secure element. This is the concept of cryptographic chips. So what we add is a specific microcontroller, secure microcontroller into the IoT devices, which has as role protecting the device identity, the cryptographic keys, performing securely all the crypto operations, protecting the firmware, the updates of these firmwares. So actually we have this, what we call hardware root of trust, which is enhancing dramatically the security of the IoT devices. Next slide, Carlos. So if we consider the full chain, that brings to a very unique characteristics of WISeKey, which is the capability to provide from the secure element to the root of trust. We have in our portfolio this unique combination of secure microcontrollers to the root of trust and all the intermediate elements and technologies that make all these pieces to work together. So we have the capability to inject the identities or to provision the identities to the objects. We have the capabilities to put in value the device identities, these digital certificates, to secure the communications. And of course, we have the PKI technology to manage all these identities. So next slide, Carlos, please. So if we see this from a more technical point of view, and next slide, Carlos. Okay. So if we see this portfolio, we went to the next one. Previous one, please, Carlos. Okay. So if we see this from another perspective, more technical, we will see that WISeKey can provide the different building blocks to provide a secure IoT architecture. We have the capabilities to manage the identities of the objects. We have the PKI, the certificate management solution. We have the capability to inject these identities to the objects. And we have the different building blocks to secure this platform. As I said, this is just an introduction, and we can go deeper into further webinars. And that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Pedro. I wonder if Egon has solved his problem with the computer, and we can try to revert to his presentation just before to go to the part from Max. Egon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Carlos, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So
good.
I will,
at least that is working.
So this is your part. Tell me when you want to flip the slides.
Okay. So good afternoon. I'm Egon Kulabitsky, and I just want to introduce myself in a few short words. I started in 1990 at Etienne Moreau in the semiconductor industry, and it was a time when RFID started, and we have been very successful for high secure ASIC developments for the anti-theft system for cars. And in the beginning of 2000, I went to the largest tech manufacturer from working for EMRA, which was Sokimat. And here I was responsible for different business units like industry logistics and animal ID. And then we have been acquired by HID. And at HID, I changed a factory in Germany to produce the first inlay for the electronic German passport. And after that, I went 5 years to Bangkok and worked for SmartTrack, being also responsible and was also responsible for industry logistic products and government products. And 8.5 years ago, I joined Tatva here in Switzerland. Within Tatva, we have 14 people in total, and we are the factory back office for the Tatva in China, and making new designs and key account, international key account development. So, and yeah, Tatva is among, yeah, okay, let's go for that one. So the Tatva Group controls some 20 different companies in China and is active, and most of them, they are active to produce high secure set-top products. They are active in the area of IoT, developing products using artificial intelligence, and they set up also a secure satellite communication for secure data transmission. The group is located close to Hong Kong, and the group is also listed on the stock exchange in Shenzhen. So we have been already started to design BLE products in 2013. This was a development mainly for medical applications, and we have delivered already more than 1 billion of RFID and BLE products since the beginning, which was 1997. The next slide, please. So the Tatva key figures, and here we are talking about the Tatva Technology Mango Group, and we have the factory in, as I said, close to Hong Kong, in the southern part of China. And we have been top 1 producer of RFID cards and tags in China, with a production capacity of more than 1 million printed white cards per day, among other products. And 2019, for example, I mean, we have delivered 200 million different types of tags. And the production area which we have is more than 20,000 square meters, and 560 full-time employees plus partial employees, depending on the loading of the production. So next slide, please. So we have all important ISO certifications. I mean, like an ISO 9001, 14001. Our products are all RoHS compliant and REACH compliant, and we have been also successfully assessed by SGS, and they did not find any point to update or to review. So the next slide, please. We have developed during the last years a standard product portfolio of in total 9 different products for asset management, for people monitoring, and also strong industrial packages. And with most of them, we are able, I mean, to exchange the battery, and we can combine it also with NFC technology. And besides the standard products, we are developing constantly also customized housing, I mean, depending on the customer needs. And the next slide, please.
Here we go.
So the market segment which we are targeting is people flow management, predictive maintenance with different kind of sensors, asset and container tracking, also smart cities and healthcare or medical, the medical market. So these are our main target markets. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Egon. I'm gonna pass another word to Max de Groot, who's gonna present a use case implementing and using the security beacon now. Max, you can tell me whenever you want that I switch the slides.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Carlos. How are we doing with time? I see we're running out of time.
We need to be the shortest and the smartest possible now of time.
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. So, okay, this slide. So, this is about a use case that we defined for the Mobile World Congress, which has been cancelled, and the Embedded World, which was in Nuremberg in February this year. So we had a demo, as Bruno told, and this demo was about showing a use case of tracking a container or a pallet with this beacon, in which we sent the temperature and the geographical location of this container during transit. So if you go to next slide, please, slide 36. The idea is about this beacon on the left side, which is on the pallet, which has a secure element inside, which sends periodically the temperature of its environment, which in this case is a pallet or a container, to a gateway. And this gateway was for this demo embedded in a mobile phone. The mobile phone receives Bluetooth messages and will send it to a backend on the right side. This backend will then verify the message, see if it is authentic according to the digital identity produced by the beacon and the signature of the data which it has acquired and sent. And once this authentication is correct, it will send back to the mobile phone, which this time reacts as a client interface and will display information about the object which is linked to this secure beacon. If you go to next slide, please, Carlos. So this is a demo setup. We have the phone on the left, and we have two beacons, and we have, of course, the backend service, which is shown on the right. So unfortunately, due to bandwidth reasons, I cannot show a live demo. So what I did was I did the demo, and I had the screens from the phone, which I put on the slide, so you will see that. So if you go to the next slide, please, Pedro. So the demo starts with, of course, the welcome screen from the application, and then we have the screen with scan devices. You can start scanning the devices, and over time it will take several seconds until the in this case, two beacons have been detected, and the information sent by the beacons has been guarded and can be displayed. So here we see that we have two secure beacons with obviously a temperature displayed, but here we don't know yet if this data is viable or not, if it's authentic. If you go to the next slide, please. So if I choose, for instance, this lower beacon, with 24.3 degrees indicated, it will send this information to the backend server, where we will verify the certificate and the signature of the data. So this is shown in the middle screen of this demo. And then when this verification is correct, it will send back the information, and we will know with this this logo on the right side, we see that the beacon is correct, it's authentic, and the temperature is 23.75 degrees. And we know for sure that this temperature is actually the temperature that has really been sent by this device. Nobody has tampered with the temperature, and nobody has put another beacon in place of the original beacon in order to send this temperature, because another beacon wouldn't be authentic, so it wouldn't be accepted by this application. It's written, by the way, certificate is verified below in the screen. If you go to next slide, please. We can get further information if we scroll down on the screen. We see the area where it's currently being scanned, which is here somewhere in Switzerland. And if you scroll even further down in the middle screen, we can get certificate information. Here we see that certificate is verified, it's a valid signature, and we have product information. And once we push on the product information, then we get the right screen where we see we have this type of pallet with these boxes. The pallet number is this and that. And then we know for sure that the information that belongs to this pallet has been sent by the beacon, and it's all data on which we can rely and which we can build our business application. This is basically what all the demo is about, and I'm sorry I couldn't show this in live, but frankly it goes quicker if I show it by demos like this. So this was my demo. I give the floor back to
Yeah, indeed, we would be able to share as well the video on the live demo. Even if it's not live, it would be a video, but it's something that we will share with all the audience. I'm gonna now give the floor to Ben. He will talk to us about leveraging consumer engagement.
Thanks, Carlos, and thanks to everyone who is still able to stay. I know we've run a little bit long. I'm with WISeKey and in charge of business development and brand protection and consumer engagement. And, you know, for this webinar, we've spoken a lot about IoT, and spoken a lot about the beacon in particular, and being able to provide information and data on things that maybe previously wouldn't be able to provide data. And I think that one of the important aspects as we go forward, especially in the changes that will come, really is in providing that digital identity for as much as we can, and being able to leverage that identity, not just for information, but also for ways to further engage. If you're a brand, for example, to further engage with your consumers. So Carlos, if you want to go to the next chart. Just as a thought, by expanding pretty much any object into a digital and secure identity, and therefore providing the ability to communicate with that device or with that product, you can leverage that to then not only collect all of the valuable information that has been spoken of today, or in the case of a consumer, information about their location or information about some of the assets that they may have purchased previously, but you can then use it to communicate and engage with that consumer. Think, for example, of a sports jersey of your favorite player, and being able to tap that jersey with your mobile device, not only know that it's authentic, not only know the provenance of that jersey, but then to be able to get more information. Maybe it's more information about the player whose jersey you're wearing. Maybe it's information about their music preferences and things like that, but creates an engaging environment where you as the consumer can now get more value and more information out of the products that you've purchased. The value to the consumer is there, and the value to the brand is there because it helps them to build their community. It helps them to know their customer better, and it helps them to be able to customize, whether it's marketing campaigns or whether it's promotions or things like that. It also allows you to reduce risk and liability as a brand, because now you can authenticate the warranty and product registration on things, and you can manage that in a way that you're confident in the digital identity of the product that is out there. If you want to, next chart, Carlos. And really the idea is pretty simple. You've seen the beacon examples. In this case, you're really talking about embedding a NFC tag, for example, into the products, being able to simply connect that with consumers through simple one-tap functionality, for example, and then being able to take that and engage with those consumers. And, you know, this has long been in the marketplace, and the issues that have been in the market have been on security. When you use things like non-secure barcodes or QR codes, now you're able to provide a true digital identity to the product and true authenticity to the product as well. And then you can take it that one step further. So if you go to the last chart, Carlos, in the interest of time, the idea is really being able to bring a digital identity to anything. And in this example, it's a bottle of liquor. I used the example earlier of a sports jersey. It could be to it could be to a insulated coffee mug. It could be to a die-cast car. It could be to really anything. The possibilities are really endless. And again, the key is providing that true authenticity and provenance. Think provenance if you're talking about rare items or things that might be resold on the aftermarket and you want to know where the lineage is for that product. It allows you as a brand to provide incentives to your consumers, whether that's through loyalty programs or rewards or sweepstakes, or the ability to win a prize that's not available unless you've got X number of products registered. And it lets you then build your brand community. You know, brand identity is so important, especially as we come out of the situations we're in today. The value that will be placed on authentic goods and products is going to continue to rise, and being able to do it in a truly secure, non-clonable way really provides that platform. So with that, I'm out of time, and thank you all for attending the webinar today, and I'll turn it back to Carlos.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much to everyone. I'm gonna pass now the floor to Carlos Moreira for the panel discussion and questions.
Thank you very much, Carlos, and congratulations to all the speakers for their great insight on this very revolutionary, but at the same time, I will call all IoT revolution. We have been talking for many years about the potential growth on IoT, and there has been a lot of expectations into the market. But I guess maybe the current situation will accelerate the digital transformation and will convince companies to allocate the right budget so they can move into the fourth industrial revolution. We got some questions related to implementation, which I would like to address into the panel. One question is, where is going to be the early adopters of this technology? We have covered health, industrial, cars, 5Gs, and many other. But maybe I will address that question to Bruno from your experience on semiconductor, being a very large semiconductor company. Where do you think is going to be the early adopters, and is that subject to pricing? Is that a price an obstacle to implement this type of technology? Bruno, just maybe 2-3 minutes so we can open.
Yes. Yes, quickly. So the security problem is latent for years, I would say, and it's now predominant actually for the last few months. So any type of company that is developing industrial solutions for manufacturing has this problem. Being hacked, certain areas of the industry can even not think of being connecting through the cloud just because of security. So manufacturing industry, heavy industry can find a solution in this type of equation with the secure element and PKI. What is less strategic, I would consider automotive manufacturing is less strategic or critical than energy production or chemical production. But the automotive industry is also looking closely at implementing secure solution for simply monitoring the car itself, or also to making sure that the solution or the information that is provided to the driver is not counterfeited, nor hacked, nor having suffering to man in the middle. So there are plenty of industry who will take a good benefit from implementing secure solution. Similarly, in consumer, we start to see consumer integration of product like wall switches to light, or sensor in the smart building, smart home environment, who are taking very seriously this type of requirements and providing a specific feature sheet which seem to be involving that a secure element over Bluetooth or even other protocol like ZigBee are mandatory. So we see this as a requirement. The price of it, the price point is obviously try to do it the same price as before, but there is certainly a value in adding security, and in the long run, we may think that providing hardware with equivalent price as today without security may be achievable, but it's really for the long run.
Thank you very much. Another question is coming is related to the what we can call legacy technology like RFID, and I saw in the presentation from Egon your experience on deploying 1 billion RFID. RFID is dominant in supply chain. How can you convince customers to move from RFID to a more complex technology if there is a price aggravation on it? Maybe some ideas on the migration from RFID to IoT beacons or equivalents. Egon, that's for you.
Yeah. I mean, the industrial and logistic world is changing, and there will be still a lot of volume for standard RFID, but talking about the increased need for security, as I said, for asset management, for example, for expensive goods, for security of factory automation, for the privacy of individuals. There is a change, and it started a few years ago, very, very slow. But now it's a time where the real need is here for secure beacons, and we are just finished our standard portfolio and provided together with the team first devices to the market.
Thank you very much. So another aspect is the what we call the global market size on IoT, which is supposed to be 1.3 billion in 2017, growing to 9.6 billion by the end of 2025, with the a growth of 28.5% before the year 2025. So that's a very high growth. Some question is about the fragmentation of the technology. I mean, this exercise between the three companies is a good example on what I believe needs to happen in the IoT world, which is the aggregation effect, right? Then we get together and we bring our best practices into a total solution. As customers do not really want, and this is our experience, to bother to integrate such a complex infrastructure if they have to buy the things from different vendors. So maybe Max, because you're in contact with a lot of companies and integration, what is the need of integration here? Is the three of us have the end-to-end solution? Do you need to bring out other parties? What will be the role of the big players like Microsoft and others?
Yeah, Carlos. So I think the big players like AWS, IBM, Microsoft, and so on, they are there to have the IoT platform and give the infrastructure needed for the client applications, the business applications to run on. But when it comes to securing the information, then there is some integration needed from the floor level, so from the equipment up to this backend. And there's something that integration is needed because there are companies in general don't have the knowledge, don't have the know-how, or let's say the needed people in-house to do this kind of thing. Of course, depends on the size of the company we're working with. I would say smaller companies that can do very good equipment, mostly they don't have this competence and they would rely on us to do that. Well, our bigger companies, they have in-house people that would be able to think it over with us and to do a big part of the integration themselves.
Very good. Thank you very much. Another question about the what we call the passive chips versus the active chips. How can you leverage existing passive chips ecosystem that they are using non-connectable chips like holograms or smart QR codes or similar, that they are good maybe for very low cost products, but the objective will be obviously to increase their performance by give them some active technology. Maybe Ben, as you have been working on very large companies in the past on this type of active versus passive, give us some highlights on where you see the industry moving and who is going to be the first, I will call movers to move from this passive technology to active chip technology.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos. I think you're right. There have been a lot of passive security and authentication products and platforms out there. And, you know, they've served a very good purpose for a very long time. I think now what you're seeing is the market trying to start to figure out how to evolve and mature those security offerings to a more active program like what we've been discussing here today. And, you know, I think in the experience I've seen and the market movements, some of the early movers are really going to be around combining the authentication and security methodology with a new evolution of their products. And, you know, Bruno mentioned earlier in the Q&A about smart home devices needing added security. And when I think of the smart home, you have, yes, you have your security devices and video cameras and smart doorbells and things, but you also now have the evolution of smart appliances, for example. And being able to secure and authenticate those smart appliances, as well as their, not only the appliance itself, but anything that might go into the appliance. Think of a water filter in your refrigerator, as well as the connectivity to that. You know, the security on these things has to be first and foremost. If you've got the ability to control your stove or oven from the mobile device, for example, you don't want that hacked while you're traveling and, you know, the gas on in your house, because it could be a problem. The other place that we're really seeing some movement, believe it or not, is in the fashion and apparel industry. And, you know, the idea of wearable technology in the fashion and apparel industry, in particular for performance tracking, performance of heart rate and other vitals and things like that, has been around for the better part of 2 years now. And the advance of that and being able to have that be secure and brought together with other things. So think about making a running shoe interactive and intelligent, so that not only do you know that you have an authentic, you know, ASICS or Nike or Adidas running shoe, but you're engaged with it and you're able to track how far you've run on that and how much useful life you have before you need it. So there's a wide set of market verticals with applicability. I think the evolution to active is here and will become even more advanced and more accelerated as we come out of the COVID experiences, and people really want to ensure the security of not only themselves, but the things that they have around them.
Thank you very much. As it is very late there, we are already nearly 30 minutes beyond time. So I would like just to inform that our objective is for this first edition of the IoT, Secure IoT offering webinar is to organize another one, but industry verticalized by industry. So we are looking into the health industry due to the COVID-19 situation. I believe it's going to be a total digital transformation of the health sector, and they are looking for solutions, and they don't necessarily have the experience, either the background to come in with the concrete ideas. So we're going to organize a future webinar on IoT security for the health industry, where we're going to be bringing also some health experts and some major players in the health industry to give us some ideas on their needs. We're going to be making also some demonstrations that combines the application WISeKey has developed for the COVID-19 for allowing people to work remotely and be geolocated at the same time, to digitally sign and secure their COVID-19 certificates, as we will need them in order to board planes and access airports and other things. So it's going to be around health. And we're also planning a session with the Canadian Food Institute on security and food. Food is one of the industry as well that is going to be verticalized and is going to be digitally transformed in many ways. And there is also a very interesting application. So we will continue inviting the experts. We'll bring other companies that we are working with, and we will stimulate the discussions also with the participation, which in the case of today's, we have around 95 people on the call, which is on the peak time, which is a great first step. So I'd like to thank all the speakers for your time and participation and organizing this, and also for the WISeKey team that has been working in making that possible. So thank you very much, and I pass the closing remarks to Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Yes, indeed, we are looking forward to settle the next sessions that are going to be shortly scheduled and presented in our webpage. You will be all informed about the coming sessions. And on the meantime, we will produce within our webpage as well the capability to download the support of presentation that has been used today, and as well the video demo, mostly live, from what Max has been presenting today. So again, thank you very much for your attendance, and apologize for being late, but I think it was a very interesting topic.
Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.